Hi guys, my name is Joshua and in today's video I'm going to show you how to implement login system in your Django application. Without wasting much of your time, let's dive into the business of the day. My goal is to make this video short and also be able to pass the message, also teach you how to do this in your web application. But before we continue to the practical, I want to use this opportunity to ask you guys to please subscribe. If this video is helpful, remember to subscribe and also like. Drop your comments in the comment section. Now let's go to the tutorial. Let me explain authentication system in simple terms. Think of authentication as the process of proving who you are. It's like when you show your ID card or passport to someone to prove that you are indeed the person you claim to be. In the digital world, authentication works similarly. That is to say, when you log in to a website or an application, you're asked to provide a username and a password. These are like your digital ID and secret key. Now, the website or application takes your username and password, checks them against its records, and if they match, it believes that you are who you claim to be. This process of verifying your identity is called authentication. Once you're authenticated, you get access to certain parts of the website or app that are meant only for the authorized users. For example, if you log in to your email account, you can read your emails because you have proven your identity. I feel like it is important to explain the theoretical aspect of every functionality or any system you want to implement in any application. That is the point of taking you guys to the theoretical aspect of what we are going to do today before we dive into the practical aspect. Now that I've explained the theoretical aspect, let's quickly dive into the tutorial. I have already opened my VS Code and everything is set up. All I'm going to do is just to show you guys the functionality and also show you how it works. Now, for this video, I have already set up a Django application, done the normal virtual environment setup as usual. I believe you guys must have done this in your own application. Now, if you go to my views, you will see that I have already set up the dev function for the login. Now, without wasting much of your time, for this particular login system that we are going to implement, we are going to use the default Django auth system. So let me quickly go ahead and import that so that we can use it ASAP. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to from Django.contrib import auth. So auth is the default authentication system powered by Django default. That is what we are going to use for this video. And if you use auth, you will be able to implement the login system without overriding anything. So I believe this can serve you for a smaller application, but when you're handling bigger applications and you want to override some certain things, then you can use custom auth or probably create your own auth in any way you want to do. But for this video, I'm just using the default auth system provided by Django. And in case anybody wants me to implement the custom auth system, I can also do that for you guys. So the first thing you do is you bring in the request method. If request method is equals to post, then get us the username. Let's get the username. We say request post get username. Then we'll also do the same for the password. Quarter request post get password. If request method is equal to post, get the username of the person and also get the password of the person. After you get the password of the person, this is what we are telling the system to do. Then we'll go ahead and get that user. Then we'll authenticate and check if this user is actually in our system. So you do auth.authenticate, Then we'll get the username that was filled in the form. As we get the username that was filled in the form, we also get a password equals to password. And we'll use this to verify. So if after checking for the user and the user exists in our system, then we'll say if user is not none, that is if the user is not none, then auth.login request then user. Is as simple as that. Then we can return redirect to show that the user has been logged in. We can return redirect to index, which is our home page. You can just put slash here to redirect it to the home page. Once you redirect back to the home, then everything is set. Then we'll do else. In case, we'll use messages to return messages.error request invalid, let's say invalid login details. Okay, let me quickly import this redirect and also import messages that I used there from. Okay, we can add messages here. I've already used contrib, then we can put redirect here. I think I put this shortcut twice, so let me remove this one. Okay, now that everything is set up, we save it. Everything is set up. Then we'll go to our settings to establish the login URL. So let's add the login URL on our settings so that our settings will know and also be able to see our login URL. So let me add the login URL here. Then let's also add the logout. Redirect URL. So let's also, so when a user logs out, it will redirect to login page. Okay. Now let's go back to our views. I think I've been able to set up everything. Now that I've been able to set up this login view, let's quickly set up the logout. Once I'm done setting up the logout, then we will try it and see if everything is working. Or the logout request, then we'll do messages at info so that we'll be able to know if our logout worked. Let's say you have been logged out. Okay, then let's return also redirect. Let's return redirect. Let's also redirect to home. Okay, with this being settled, let's go to our URLs. With this login, everything is set up. I've already set up the URL for the login here. Now with this setup, let's go back to our command and quickly end this to create a super user so that we'll be able to test the login function we have done to see if we can be able to log in with this. So Python manage.py create super user. Oops. Okay, the problem is I have not done migration after setting up the Django application. So let me quickly do Python manage.py migrate. Okay, everything is good to go. So Python Let's see. Okay, Python man, let's create a super user now. Okay, it's working. So let's use Joshi Vibe as my username, then j@gmail.com. So let me enter password. Okay, I have been able to create a super user. So let me quickly run server to see if everything we've done is working. Okay, now before we continue, let's go to our login form that I've already set up. We have to be able to add in our form the login details. When I mean by the login details, what I mean is in our login we should be able to add the login form. Once we add the login form, then we will try it and see if it's working. So what I will do is inside this form that is here, we'll have to add an action to it. We'll call on an action that will trigger the default login auth system of Django. Then it will use it to authenticate to see if we have a user. So for the action, what I'm going to do is call on the URL, which will call on the function we created. So URL login. So this will, then let's put a name. Can put name as login form, which is the default login form of Django. So let's add CSRF token. Always remember it's important to add CSRF token because the CSRF token is what is going to help Django to be able to authenticate your website and make sure that it is not being used by bots or malwares. So always ensure you add the CSRF token whenever you want to set up the login form to make it authenticated. So once you set this up, now let's go to the here. Let's go here, which is for the input for the username. In the input for the username type, you can use username. You can even use normal text if you want. Then you can add that. Once you add that, you add ID. The ID here should be equals to ID here should be equals to ID underscore username. Okay. Always ensure you put the curly brackets, put it inside curly bracket. Once you do that, you also go to the password here. Okay, the type is already, I've already set it as password. Then we'll also add ID equals to ID password. Okay, let's submit. Okay, maybe I should let me remove this value here. Doesn't matter though. Okay, let's try it and see if it's working. Okay, so let me try my login, see if it's gonna work. Okay, let's log in. Okay, it's not logging in. Let's go back to VS Code and look at our views. Oops. Oh, I made a mistake. I did not set up the forms.py file that will be able to get the information from the form. That is why we are not able to log in yet. So let me go to the login app here and create a forms.py file where we will set up forms.py file. So in this form, then we will now set up import Django forms, which we'll use to get the information that is filled up by the user, then use it to cross-check inside our system to know if the user is registered. So from Django import forms, then let's create class login form. Login form. form dot form. Okay, here should be even forms, not even form dot form. Okay, then let's set up the username. Username equals to forms dot field. Let's set mask length to 100. Then let's also set up for password equal to forms dot field. Then let's set widget equal to forms dot password input. Okay, now that I've set up the forms, let's go back to our view. Then let's import our forms so that we can be able to continue. So from forms import login form. Now that we've imported the login form, let's go to the login function, set it up so that we can be able to use it here. Inside the return render, we should add the form inside there so that when the form is filled up, we'll pull it from here, then cross check in our database to know if the user is registered. So from login form. Okay, now with this being set up, let's go back to our template. Let me close this. Let's see let's look at the login template to make sure. All right, then also add method. The method should be post. Okay, with this setup, let's go back to our login and see if everything is working fine. So let's try with our username we have already set up, password, login. Okay, we can still log in, but we're able to get the CRF middleware token is working. But the challenge is we can't yet log in. Why are we not logging in yet? Everything is fine in the views. So the problem is from my template here. I did not add the name of the form for each particular field. So I should add for the username and also the password. So let me add name here. Sorry. So name should be equal to username. Then for password, we also do name. Same for password. So once we do this, let's go back and try and see if it's working now. It should be working, because that's the only challenge that I know that I did not fix when I was doing that. So let's put our password and see if everything is fine. Okay, we are not still able to log in. Okay, probably the password I put is wrong, so let's try again with the right password. Let me make sure I enter the right password. Okay, so we are able to log in. It has redirected us back to the login. So in my index, I set up this so that it will be able to show me if I was able to authenticate the user when I was setting up the project. So I used the if statement to do if request.user is authenticated, then let it call on the URL for the logout to pop up and show there. Else, if it isn't, then it will take us to the login URL. So that's why you can see from here it's showing me to log out instead of login. So if I click on logout, we'll log out, then we'll see the login button. Sure. So yeah, that's how to set up the Django authentication system using the default auth provided by Django. Please, if this video was helpful, remember to subscribe and also give a thumbs up and drop comments in the comment section. Thank you.